Welcome to the Built from Scratch Life channel. I'm Marmee and love to inspire you with snippets from the life we love living here on our 200 wild and woolly acres. Today's video features a baking episode. We are making some crazy bread from scratch using a Bosch kitchen mixer.
Hey guys, welcome back to Marmee's Built from Scratch YouTube channel. My name is Elizabeth and this is my Marmee. But before we get started, let's make sure to like and subscribe now. Let's get started.
If you've never had crazy bread, it's easy to make and is yummy served with spaghetti or hearty soups. Come make some crazy bread with us.
I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about me and Marmee. So she's my grandma and we always love to bake together.
You will find the recipe for crazy bread in my cookbook. Make it special, homemade with love, using a large kitchen mixer. Or hop on over to my blog at builtfromscratchlife.com to find lots more recipes we love. Wait, don't go until you finish watching our baking episode today. In my cookbook, I encourage you to put your large kitchen mixer to work and stir up all sorts of bakery shop style goodies or whole grain loaves for your bread box. Homemade with Love features full color photographs of the recipes, all made in a home kitchen using a large kitchen mixer. You will find tips and a tutorial for beginner bread bakers, along with well-loved tried-and-true recipes that will soon become your family favorites, and all will be homemade with love.
You can't eat crazy bread. You just drink milk.
Always get your hands nice and clean with warm soapy water before you get started. If you grind your wheat berries in a kitchen grain mill to get fresh flour, it's time to do that now. I've got a tip for you. Use the very finest setting on your mill for extra fine wheat flour. Using a finely ground wheat flour will help your finished baked goods to not be so dense. Maybe it's just me, but I like fluffy. If you don't have a grain mill, no worries. I hope you won't use that as an excuse to miss out on making your family some made-from-scratch crazy bread. Simply use what you have on hand. You can substitute whole wheat flour purchased at the store and still get great results. I highly recommend King Arthur Baking Company's products. You can order online or find them in most supermarkets. I promise you this recipe will still turn out tasting just great, even if you don't use any whole wheat flour at all, and substitute the flour measurements with all unbleached bread flour. For my family, I like to add the nutritional benefits of some freshly milled wheat flour to the recipe. Let's get baking! It is very helpful to gather up the ingredients, measuring cups and spoons and utensils and bakeware you will need for the recipe, and put them together on the countertop. Set them aside as you use them in your recipe. If you happen to get an interruption, you won't come back to your baking saying, I wonder if I already added in the salt. This is a yeast bread, and the yeast has to be activated. If you are a beginner baker, it's the trickiest part of baking. The water you use cannot be too hot or too cold. Kind of like the porridge in the fairy tale about the three bears. It has to be just right. Use a thermometer if you aren't experienced in just feeling the water to know if it is just right. The ideal temperature to activate your yeast is at least 110 degrees, but never hotter than 120 degrees. There is a method to my madness as I always put my ingredients in the mixing bowl in the sequence listed in my recipes, with the hot water going in first and all the other ingredients being placed in the bowl right on top of the hot water and the yeast going in last. The other ingredients add a buffer from the yeast touching the hot water, just in case you got it a bit too hot. Using the mixing bowl on the Bosch kitchen mixer, equipped with a dough hook, put these ingredients, one right after the other, in the mixing bowl. Don't waste time putting those ingredients into the bowl, as all the while you might be dilly-dallying, the water that needs to be just right to make the yeast come alive is cooling down. You are dumping the instant dry yeast on top of the pile of all your ingredients that have already gone into your mixing bowl. Turn your mixer on just long enough to combine all the ingredients. Turn it off, and within just a very short time, like less than a minute, if your water was just right, you should have happy yeast full of bubbles that looks like this. Now begin adding unbleached bread flour, 1 cup at a time, up to 4 cups, one right after the other, watching for your mixture to gather into dough. Watch carefully as your dough mixes, as you may not need to add all 4 cups of flour. It should be gathered in the bowl like a dough and soft. Feel the dough.
It's a little bit sticky.
So see, it's a little bit sticky. You can always add a bit more flour in the end, but a big mistake of beginner bakers is adding too much flour, and that gives you a heavy brick in the end instead of yummy, crazy bread. Let the dough knead 4 minutes on a medium speed. The dough hook does all the hard work for you. When the kneading time is up, turn off your mixer and cover the dough, still in the bowl, and let it rest for about 20 to 30 minutes. While we are waiting, let's make some garlic butter. It can be used as a dipping sauce for crazy bread, or I like to brush it all over the top of mine right before I bake it. Plus, you can add all sorts of other toppings. You can go crazy with the toppings. That's why it's called crazy bread. Now we are going to take the dough, since it's had a rest time, out of the bowl and put it onto a clean surface. If you will dribble a little vegetable oil on the surface and rub it around first, then your hands will be a bit oily, and it will be easy peasy to get that big ball of dough right out of the bowl and onto the counter. Divide the dough into 2 parts. If you want to add different toppings to each individual pan, there really isn't any reason you can't divide it up into 3 or 4 smaller portions. You simply won't need a large-sized pan for smaller portions of dough to be baked on. Really, you can use any type of baking pans you like, even round pizza pans. But the dough will fit on 2 extra large sheet pans if it's divided in half. Now it's time to turn on your oven and preheat it to 415 degrees. Next, you need to prepare your baking pans so the dough won't stick to them with either pan spray, parchment paper, or both. When you put your dough in the pan, give it a few minutes just to rest a bit. Sometimes it likes to jump around and it won't roll out. It'll start jumping back towards you, but you can begin rolling or pressing it into a thick layer after just a few minutes with your hands or a small rolling pin. Press from the middle out toward the edges, trying to keep it an even thickness. If it gets too thin in a spot, push the dough back over where it needs to be. When your dough is evenly distributed over the bottom of your pan and about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 of an inch thick, it's time to have fun with the toppings. You can spoon and spread around some of the garlic butter, sprinkle on grated cheese, sprinkle on sesame seeds, poppy seeds.
Does it taste better whenever there's garlic on it?
Ooh, I think so.
Okay, I'll put garlic on it.
When your oven is hot, pop the pans on the middle rack and bake it until it's golden brown and bubbly on top.
Hey, so this is my little brother, and we're going to have some playtime with him while we wait for our crazy bread. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys an update of what the bread looks like in the oven. It's looking very cheesy and really yummy.
I find it easy to cut with a pizza rotary cutter, but if you want pull-apart crazy bread, you can cut it before you bake it with a pizza rotary cutter and then simply pull apart the sections after it's baked and slightly cooled. I'd love to hear from you in the comments if you love to bake from scratch, and let me know if you try baking this recipe. What are your favorite toppings? Be sure to like and subscribe and share my video with others. Thanks for watching.